You know I'm all about making healthy foods that actually taste delicious and are simple and are inexpensive. So today we have a new taste treat for some people. It's called sauerkraut. Now sauerkraut for some people is delicious, for some people they put their nose up at it. But I'll tell you, it is ridiculously nutritious because it's fermented. And whenever you ferment foods, the probiotics become plentiful. And so I remember working with a group of nuns who were patients of mine in Dallas, and they were from Poland. And I had mentioned that I had learned to make sauerkraut, and they went, oh, we had to have like 2 tablespoons every morning before we went to school. And so they told me all about what a big part of their culture it was, that they made sauerkraut in these big vats. And they all really didn't like sauerkraut, but nobody went to the doctor because this is such a healthy, probiotic-filled food that it keeps you healthy all winter long in adverse conditions. So just for that reason, you should learn to love it. So we're going to, it's ridiculously simple to make. All we take is 3 heads of cabbage. And the proportions are 2 to 1, so we're going to chop one up really fine. I use the Cuisinart. This is 2 cabbage. And the 3rd cabbage we're going to put through the juicer, so that becomes our liquid. Then we're going to put all of this in a big container. That was the hardest thing I had found, was finding the container for this. Then we're going to take the cabbage, we're going to put juice over it. We're going to punch it down with our hand until the juice ekes up. Then we add another layer of cabbage and another layer of water until we've got the whole thing filled up like that. And then we're going to put these cabbage leaves over it to secure it. And then we're going to put something heavy on top of that. And then we're going to put it in a dark, quiet place. Who cares if it's quiet? It's just dark for a week or so. Okay, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with juicing. If you live something like Juice Land, you can go and probably have this done for you. But I've had this juicer almost 40 years. It's a Champion juicer, and it's a workhorse. So the way we do the juice is, it's a little bit noisy, but just bear with me. So now the fun begins. I have this crock, which is important that you have an earthenware crock. When I started making sauerkraut, I had the hardest time finding a container to put it in. And I was in California at the time, and I went into this country farm and hardware store. And there was a lady there from Poland or somewhere in East Europe. And she was so interested that she said, I'll order them specially for you. And when I came back the next week, she had her family recipe for me, which she had translated from whatever language it was into English. So it was such a labor of love. So anyway, this is a really good size for this. So we're going to take this, not very glamorous. Good. So that's got a nice thick layer of cabbage. And then I'm going to take some of the cabbage juice. Then I'm going to punch it down. Then we're going to add another dose. You know, sauerkraut, it seems like it should be difficult and it's kind of exotic, but we think of it should be many, many steps and really hard. But this version, which I learned from the Optimum Health Institute, which is a place where people go who are really, really sick, or like me, who never want to get really, really sick. And so they teach you how to ferment foods and how to make juices and really how to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Optimum Health Institute. So, okay. Oh, I actually have caraway seeds that I could be mixing in here. They're optional. You could also mix carrots in. You could put turmeric. You probably could use your imagination, but carrots are the most common thing that I've done. And sometimes I'll do red cabbage. Very different. The coloring is really different. And or sometimes I mix red and green cabbage together. So now I can see, it's like when you're walking, if you've ever been in the country and you're walking in a bog and you put your foot down and the water starts coming up around your foot. That's what this is like. So the juice is starting to come up around here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. and you don't see much juice coming out, but there is. Then the trick is we cover it with the outside of the cabbage leaves, and we want to make sure we get all the edges, because otherwise you'll see a little mold, which you can scrape off. But that's going to look like this, so you don't see anything in there. And then we put something heavy on top of it. Like I use one of these, a big rock. And if sometimes I'll put like a can, just something else in there, because it needs weight. Because you need to have the liquid keep bubbling up through. So that's what that looks like. And then we put a cover on it. And then I usually put it in the pantry or in a closet. And I just cover it up like this even more for at least 7 days. And you can leave it probably 8 or 10 days if you want, and it gets more and more sour. And they say as little as 4 days, but I like it a good 7 or 8 days at least. So it's going to go in a cool, dark place. And then when it comes out, this will make about 6 or 7 jars or pint-sized jars of sauerkraut. So when it's finished, I just get my spoon out and I start filling up jar after jar after jar. You don't have to do any pressure cooker like I remember in the old days with sauerkraut. This is just really simple. And so when it's finished like that, you just put it in the refrigerator. And so this will last you a good 2 or 3 months, and it'll stay 2 or 3 months easily. When I was in Germany one time a few years ago, every little place we went, I asked for sauerkraut. It usually comes with some kind of sausage. I didn't really care about the sausage. I wanted to know how many kinds of sauerkraut there were. And the people I was traveling with who were German thought it was a little strange, but I was having a great time. And I learned a lot that there are lots of kinds of sauerkraut and they're all great. So I hope you enjoy sauerkraut and you can have it year round. You can just put a little dab on your plate whenever you're doing a cold salad or whenever you're doing, just put a tablespoon or 2 on your plate. If you make it a habit, you'll be getting your probiotics every day in a very, very inexpensive way. This whole thing for 3 cabbage was less than $5, and it'll last you 2 or 3 months. So what a bargain. Thanks so much for watching.